She stood in front of the mirror, not crying, just gone. The light in her eyes had dimmed. She wasn't sad in the obvious way. She was hollow, heavy, tired. Some days she felt too much. Other days, nothing at all. Ugly, invisible, disgusted. And strangely, still longing to be found attractive. She didn't understand this contradiction. How could she feel so unseen and so ashamed of being seen? Her belly had grown, yes, but something else had grown with it. A deep, unspeakable fatigue. A weight far beyond the body. A weight that had texture, like blame, silence, protection, and unprocessed truth. She couldn't tell if it was depression or a final surrender, but something was asking to be felt, and she couldn't look away anymore. The belly wasn't new, but the honesty was. It had become bigger than her breasts, and in a way, it now led the way. She wanted to say it was just a bad phase, but it took too long. Years have passed. Deep down, she knew. This was a symptom of something more ancient. Not laziness, not lack of willpower, but layers of life she had never really digested. A growing belly, not from fullness, but from everything withheld. She had swallowed more than food. She had digested silence. She had carried years of trying to be easy to swallow, easy to handle, not too loud, too wild, or too real. She had feared her own voice, her hunger, her impact. So the body said, "If you won't make space for yourself, I will." And it did. Was it about pregnancy? Maybe. Not in the literal sense. There was no child. But there was something forming, growing quietly inside her. Something invisible. Something waiting. A future version of her. A self she had delayed. A truth she had never dared to carry to full term. Maybe the belly was holding space for that. For all the versions of her that had been denied. Or maybe it was mourning. For the motherhood not lived. For the life paths left untouched. Whatever it was sacred. But she had only learned to see it as shameful. And now, her own body had become too symbolic to ignore. I'm tired of pretending I'm okay. I'm tired of trying to love my body when I secretly feel betrayed by it. I don't want to look away, but I also don't want to look anymore. I feel disconnected from desire, not because I don't want to feel, but because I feel too much. And I'm afraid that if I really let it in, I will have to grieve everything I've lost. Not just my waistline, but the parts of me that I abandoned just to belong, just to be liked, just to be desirable. I don't even know who I would be if I didn't carry this belly. Maybe free, maybe powerful, maybe terrified. And maybe I'm not ready yet. And that's okay too. She didn't rush. She didn't declare healing. she just stayed with the feeling, stayed with the mirror, stayed with the belly that had carried more than anyone knew. It wasn't a villain, it was a witness. It had seen it all, every betrayal, every suppression, every time she forced herself to smile when something inside her wanted to scream. And the body, like earth, remembered everything. So she laid her hand on her belly, not to judge, not to change, but just to be with it, noticing the weight, the heat, the pressure of everything that had not yet been named. It wasn't about loving it, it wasn't about accepting it, it was about being willing to feel again, to no longer disappear inside her own skin. There are truths only the belly remembers, like the moment she chose silence instead of confrontation, the night she said yes when she meant no, the years she tolerated, minimized, adjusted. And there's a kind of tenderness that only grows in the places we have once abandoned. Her belly wasn't just fat, it was a message, a map, a monument to her survival, to her refusal, to her becoming. And still, something inside her whispered, it doesn't have to stay this way. Not because she needed to lose weight, but because she no longer needed to carry it all. No one saw the day she returned to herself. It wasn't loud, it wasn't revolutionary, it was a quiet, embodied yes. A yes to feeling, a yes to dressing in a way that made her feel like a woman again, not a project. A yes to food that fed her, not punished her. A yes to slow movement, not for control, but for reconnection. A yes to being looked at, even if it still scared her. Because the truth was, she didn't want to disappear anymore. Not under clothes, not under shame, not under extra layers of grief. She wanted to be here, visible, real, alive. She remembered, and in that remembering, she changed. Not because she fixed her body, but because she stopped running from it. And from that space, the belly softened on its own. Or not. But it no longer defined her worth. She began to carry herself differently, not because she had something to prove, but because she had nothing to hide. But the quiet power of no longer abandoning herself. And with that remembering, with that allowing to be, she herself healed and embodied what her belly had balanced out for so long. And maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the real radiance, not beauty, not acceptance, but the silent, the rooted whole return to a body that always told the truth. Remember her, because she is you, the one who once saw her belly as a burden and discovered it was the beginning of her truth.